So, what exactly are you doing there?
Slamming 2 resonators against a dragon to try to make a bigger dragon?
Are you sure you weren't jacking off? That sounded very odd.
Yeah, that's the sound it makes. Watch. See?
So what you're saying is you weren't jacking off.
I'm fairly certain the definition of jacking off is slamming 2 resonators into a dragon in order to make a bigger dragon. Incredibly unfunny intro aside, it's time to look into another anime deck, but this time from 5Ds, and also Arc 5, but that's weird dimension bullshit. Red Dragon Archfiend is one of the 6 signer dragons meant to serve the Crimson Dragon, represented by the Mark of the Wing and owned by Posh Brit himself, Jack Atlas. Red Dragon Archfiend appearing in 5Ds got the deck shafted by having its main deck archetype be a mix of multiple different archetypes since it was that kind of era. So they are split between generic fiends used by Jack, the red archetype, which is a bitch to find in any deck search except for maybe Dueling Book, and resonators, who just kinda resonate. Resonators are the main way the deck brings out its boss monsters, as resonators have ways to keep themselves alive while also summoning more monsters to keep synchroing into stronger monsters, especially with Crimson, where if you have no cards on your field, you can summon it for free. If you don't have Crimson Resonator, Red Resonator also gives you gas to bring out a Synchro, with allowing you to summon another monster from your hand that could be any generic level 4 for you to get a free level 6 of either Red Wyvern or the dragon I will cover later. If you want power for a fast RDA, you can include an Askinator engine with 1 Fire Ant and Dawnwalker for a quick level 8 Synchro that can't be Clear Wing because we can't combo that hard. The best fiend that can be run in the main deck is Wandering King Wildwin, as it can special summon itself when you control a fiend, and in the grave can search any fiend if you need a Resonator or any other monster. Although if he's too slow for you, you can just use 3 Resonator Call to add some Resonators before you summon him, and then go into your Synchro plays with RDA. There are more Resonators that are more useful than just the ones that summon themselves, but Vision and Soul Resonator are both OCG exclusive at the moment, so I'll leave them alone for a while and go over some real power. Now that we've covered the main deck in the most general interpretation possible, it's time for the Synchro Pool, starting off with the original Red Dragon Archfiend, which if it attacks a defense mode monster, it blows up all defense mode monsters and nukes your field if you don't attack with every monster you have. For being the ace monster of a posh lad, you'd think Red Dragon Archfiend would have some class, but lad really wants to be better than Stardust in every way. Devolving from the base RDA, we come to Red Rising Dragon, the RDA version of Shooting Riser Dragon that extends plays by instead of sending a card from the deck to the grave, instead revives a Resonator from your graveyard for more synchro plays of the Jack Atlas variety. Remember why I said Crimson Resonator was the best Resonator?
No.
No? Well, I'm saying it now, because if you bring out Crimson again with Rising's effect, Crimson lets you summon up to 2 tuners from your deck while you have a Synchro monster on the field to keep climbing, or if you felt ballsy, you can do the very definition of Jack Atlas's gameplay, and jack off. To jack off, you simply get at least 2 Resonators and a non-tuner monster, then you tune the tuners with the non-tuner to Synchro summon. For this, there are a fair amount of options. Sticking to purely anime, there is Red Nova Dragon, the first of the nuts busted, gaining 500 attack for each tuner in the graveyard, immune to card effect destruction, and if your opponent dares attack, you can banish Nova to negate the attack, and have it come back during the end phase. Kinda like Stardust Dragon, I wonder where you got that idea from. Taking it up a notch from 2 tuners to 3 tuners, we get every Edgelord's Inner Soul Red Supernova Dragon, which is basically Red Nova Dragon, but with the added benefit that if your opponent uses an effect or attacks, Red Supernova banishes itself to banish your opponent's entire field, but comes back the next time you end your turn. On the other side of the anime spectrum is Arc 5's Starlight Red Dragon Archfiend, with a way better effect than the original and Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend. Starlight is simply a nuke that targets special summon effect monsters, but in this day and age, special summoning is everywhere, and this just works for making them go boom and dealing some burn damage. But at least now your cards aren't at risk at being murdered by Red Dragon when they don't punch the Tearlament in the face, even though they definitely need the punch in the face. Jacking off using low-level resonators called Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend. It works as a nuke like its son Starlight, but with the added benefit of during the battle phase it can negate a spell, then gain 500 attack for doing it, being a good option to tell Runix to get Forbidden Droplet off your ass. Following up the anime versions is the manga versions, which are apparently all considered hot, but unlike the opinions of probably everyone on the internet, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend doesn't have to worry about Red Dragon Archfiend's downside of nuking your own field, and Hot Red Dragon Archfiend gets to destroy all attack mode monsters your opponent controls, with the drawback being only it can attack, which is a little rude, but kinda understandable since it can match Blue Eyes in a beam shooting contest. Surprisingly, without jacking off, brings up next to Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, which does need a synchro monster to synchro summon it, but that shouldn't be too bad with resonators. And during either player's turn, it is a free negate at spell speed 2 for when you need to negate a Luber from Searching Braided Fusion. That's about it, all it's used for, but it can bring back a tuner after it punched something in the face. So that's kinda cool, I guess. A singular level higher, we have Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, which, if you tribute a monster, you can bring back a Red Dragon Archfiend from the grave, and since Scarlight technically counts as Red Dragon Archfiend in the grave, that's a free nuke. It also has an extra effect where you can summon a resonator from your deck and from your grave, but that rarely comes up. For some inexplicable reason, the manga decided to bust a harder nut than the anime and produce the father of all dragons, thick Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity. And when he is summoned, he emits so much of an aura, your opponent has to sit there and watch as you do whatever other combos you can do and can't even respond when it does it. On top of that, King Calamity also does extra burn if it destroys a monster, and if it is somehow bonked for its horny, you can bring back a Dark Dragon. Doesn't have to be RDA, but can be any Dark Dragon. The extra deck slots are kinda up for debate after that, but I did a little bit of trolling having the Mathmech Synchros and Barone as extra cover alongside a spare Red Rising for extended combos after the initial Red Rising does its job. RDA also has some spells specifically tied to it that can let you draw 2 cards at the drawback of no summoning, so basically a card that belongs in the garbage.
Know your fucking place, trash!
Nuke the back row of your opponent, set all your opponent's monsters face down to actually use RDA's effect, set up a Rave for destroying cards your opponent plays as they play them, a free spell or trap negate, and best of all, Red Rain, where if the highest level monster is at least level 8 and it's a synchro monster, all monsters on the field are banished that aren't the highest level, and the survivor is immune to all card effects until the end of the turn except for its own. Red Rain also comes back from the graveyard if you synchro summon a Dark Dragon, but that's the only thing on Red Rain that they decide to give a once per turn. Not the nuke, the returning to the hand. With all this power, you would think RDA would be hard to out, but all it takes is a negate and everyone within a 500-mile radius will immediately stop jacking off. With this newfound power, you can now extremely hard bully casual players in Dueling Book, so have fun jacking off the Jack Atlas way. And no, I am never letting go of this joke, because if RDA didn't have it, the best joke they have is something about Blue Eyes fucking coffee.